Hey everybody, your old pal Shawn here. We got a great episode ahead for you today, but before we get started, remember, if you like what we're trying to do, please like, share, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're watching this on. If you have the means, please check out our givesendgo.com/SZP. Any contributions that come in are going to help us increase production quality and bring more content to you, better content, faster, and let's get on with the show. So in this episode, we're going to talk about some dynamics that often happen in interpersonal relations, and we're gradually going to grow this out into different scenarios. So imagine that there's a couple, and one of them likes to go out all the time and wants to go to 3-4 parties a week and bring their partner. Their partner, on the other hand, is very introverted, likes to be home a lot, a real cozy kind of person. You know, very, very introverted, very introspective. And so trying to appease their partner, the introverted person goes out with the extroverted person. And this is fine for a while, even meaning well. However, little by little, not wanting to bring it up because, they know how important it is to their partner and, being there to support and have fun, but it's just, it's hard. It's hard to want to go. It can be draining. It can be exhausting. Little by little, because of all the words that go unsaid, there can be a sense of bitterness that arises, tension. And bitterness slowly becomes resentment, and that eventually festers into poison for the relationship. Now, is it going to come out in biting comments about their performance around friends? Is it going to come out in purposely shitty meals? Or in some other way, is it going to come out in an explosion of screams and, thrown vases? You don't know. You see, little by little, just even a benign kind of force, like not wanting to make waves, a benign force can eventually become very destructive, even in a very small, well-intentioned scenario. The relationship started out great, but just words left unsaid build up. And as the pressure builds, stress rises in that person, tension. If, for example, one partner found out that their partner was interested in a coworker, never did anything, never said anything, never sent flirtatious texts or no hangouts or no pictures, nothing. But just knowing that comment, like, oh yeah, I found my coworker attractive, but, we're in different departments, we don't talk unless it's work involved, etc. But that insecurity in that person can, not always, but can fester and can definitely grow. And then every time their partner's a little late, I bet he's with that coworker. Every time that coworker should come up, oh, Sally, she crashed her car. Oh, did she? Did she crash her car? Oh, I bet she did. And were you there to help her? And even if it goes unsaid, that feeling is inside. And if those feelings aren't communicated, little by little, they grow and they fester and they become a web of pain. And then any reference to work or being late to work or a coworker can easily begin to be interpreted into a fling that never happened in reality. But this is the kind of thing that happens all the time. Even if there's no legitimate thing physically going on, inside there's legitimate pain building up. Now let's look at larger dynamics. Well, before that, let's do another two-person interaction. There have been many people that I've talked to who've been in a similar situation to this. And they would say something like, I'm going to invent a person right now. And I'm not referring to any particular person's story. This is actually similar to a lot of things I've heard. Rita. I'm inventing the name Rita. So Rita says, hey, Shawn, I met this guy and he's so cool. And, every Friday night we go on dates. And then he spends the weekend with me and we're just having a great time and the sex is great. And, we go out to these great dinners and, maybe one time we'll go dancing. Another time we'll go to a park or go see something. It's just so cool. And, he sends me every time I go to bed, we can't wait. We keep talking and then he says good night but doesn't leave. And then I say good night and I don't leave and we keep doing this. Oh, it feels so good. And then I wake up and I feel so loved when I read the good morning, beautiful text. And, you're always happy to hear your friend is having a good relationship. Then, some time goes by, things cool off. And your friend says something that sounds very reasonable. Your friend says, I'm still with this guy. He's a great guy. I love him. He's so good, But it was getting so expensive going out on all those dates. So, we're cutting it back, maybe once a month, every 6 weeks or something. But, I'm still spending weekends over there and, we're having a great time there. And, he'll cook something at home or we'll watch a movie and stay tucked in, a little Netflix and chill. Know what I mean? And then, I'm still getting a good morning, good night text. And then, okay, well, some time goes by. And, he's been so tired and so busy, he hasn't been sending the good morning, good night text. But, we're adults. This isn't high school anymore. So, we still hang out on the weekends. It's still a great time. And then little by little, things drop off. And I'm not saying this is bad. I'm not saying this is a sign of something bad. But please continue on this. And eventually now we see each other every other weekend and then once a month. I'm not seeing him so often. Little by little, each thing drops off and none of them are really big enough to have a fight over, because how much are you going to spend on dates? Times are tough. Look at inflation. And, the good morning, good night text, at a certain point when you expect it, it gets routine. It loses some of its specialness. It's so cool in the beginning, but, seems less important then. And you continue. And from there, the relationship builds. And then the frequency and intensity of each get-together is a bit less. Now, Rita, loving this guy, remembering how beautiful it was, really cares about this person, really needs love, really has this sense of emptiness inside where she's just taking it and, she's not discussing any of these things, doesn't want to make waves, doesn't want to risk the relationship or make it seem like she's a gold digger or a bad girl or anything, She's understanding. And so eventually the guy says, hey, Rita, we need to talk. And she's like, yeah? About what? And he says, well, I haven't wanted to tell you this because you mean so much to me. And I love you so much. But, it's so weird. I only love you. You see, I technically I'm still married to somebody. And technically I still live with her and we have joint bank account and kids. But you know, she hasn't had my heart for years and she doesn't know me like you know me. And it's hard to get out because we have joint bank accounts and we're trying to have both parents present for the kids, you know. But like, I don't know. I we met and things happened so fast and I didn't want to scare you off and now it's been so long I just feel terrible about it. And you know, Rita, she's hurt deeply. And she says, "Okay, well, I understand that. And it hurts. But, you know, she's like, well, you know, I can understand his situation. All right. Stay in a relationship." And then, you know, eventually it becomes the guy only calls or comes by when he wants to borrow money or have sex. And she just remembers how good things were. And he goes, "No, babe, you know, one day I'm trying to figure something out so that, you know, I could take care of the kids and, you know, they still have their father because I don't want to be replaced and I don't want to have a messy custody battle. So we're working something out. But, you know, it's all you." And just like he offers these breadcrumbs and in exchange, basically gets to use her in any way he decides on command. And, you know, she really wants love and she really wants to be understanding. And she's just so desperate for affection and care that, you know, she stays quiet. And, you know, it's hard on her health. You know, maybe she starts overeating or maybe she starts sleeping whenever she's free. Or maybe she starts drinking or abusing a substance. And then he goes, "Oh, you know, you're getting fatter. Could you lose some weight?" Or, "Oh, you're so lazy." And, you know, she'll take these biting comments and attack herself with it. You know, "He's right. He's always right. You know, I did get bigger." And slowly but surely, she ends up in a weird situation. And, you know, often these scenarios can become very possessive too. Well, she eventually no longer is allowed to hang out with friends and, you know, only sees family on holiday. And little by little, her world is consumed by this guy who dominates her and she has to check in. And you know, at early stages, at the beginning, she wouldn't tolerate this. But little by little, one concession after another, all of a sudden, Rita is in a dark spot and can't get out. In the beginning, if she had all the information and she'd never fall for this, but little by little, you know, just enough good stuff to keep her hanging on, just enough love, just enough affection, the sweet words, the right touch, and the promise, oh, it's going to get better, and remembering how good it was. And people can stay in these situationships for years. You know, I had a dear friend, no longer with us, but super sweet person, super cool, had many, many, many things going for her. And one of the things she shared was, you know, there was this guy that she knew that she thought she was so compatible with, and he's such a good guy, and, you know, she doesn't want to pressure him into anything. But like they have sex when they get together, but, you know, doesn't want to pressure him, but hopes it becomes a relationship one day, hopefully. And it just doesn't happen. And you know, she'd call me and say, "Hey, Shawn, I need a guy's perspective. What about this? What about that? What if he, you know, like I got together with the guy again and like he hasn't called me or texted me, you know, what's going on?" People can so easily, when they have a pain inside, find themselves in these difficult situations, meaning the best. And they just end up in a dark spot. Now, these are some everyday examples of how easy it is to Started with something good and then slide into a negative situation you would never want to be in. We've all met people like this. And we've also often seen the person who's a doormat, who doesn't want to make waves, air quotes, doesn't want to have an argument, doesn't want to pressure people, doesn't want to make things harder on other people. They'll just stay quiet. And sometimes these people who are doormats, they'll have people that they love genuinely. But because they never speak up, because they let the other person do whatever they want, it hurts both people. How? Well, the doormat person ends up training themselves to submit and to be walked on and taken advantage of all of the time. And they also reward the person that's taking advantage of them, enabling some of their worst behaviors. So both of them become worse, despite the good intentions. And the person who's acting more like a doormat often ends up hating themselves because they notice a bitterness or an anger towards the people they love, and they're so sweet. They never would want to be angry at somebody they love. They never want to have mean feelings about someone they love. They want to act as a shield towards those people. But for those people, rather. But they got so much pain building up that they can't help it. They can't help it. And they try and lock it down and hide from it and pretend it's not there and bury it and become whoever they need to be in order to be loved or help that other person feel loved. And the lack of authenticity and the repression of emotion is a very dangerous thing. And this is a kind of pattern that has destroyed a lot of my friends, very close ones. So I'm pretty, this is kind of a personal issue at a certain sense. Now let's make this a larger dynamic. So I used to be in the coaching industry. Typically, now I offer no services and I'm not going to, so please don't ask me. But I was in the coaching industry. And before that, I did some personal training and martial arts. And as a martial arts instructor and personal trainer, I met a lot of people in the same field, and they often related that a pretty substantial segment of their clients would eventually confess that they hired them because they're attracted to them and they wanted proximity to them. So already this is showing you that there could be even a well-meaning situation. Oh, they really do want to get in shape and improve their health. Or they really do want to have a hobby or an activity or greater self-defense possibilities. They do. But having someone attractive guiding them through it, that's so delicious. That's even better, right? Now in coaching, this could be a really slippery scenario, especially because of the nature of the field at the moment. You see, there's a lie in the coaching industry. And I really do think a lot of the people who propagate it mean well. But they're lying. Or rather, they're repeating a lie that perhaps they taught themselves to believe. Now, what's that lie? And the lie goes something like this. Everybody is an expert. All you have to do is decide you're an expert and you're an expert. In order to coach somebody, you don't have to have years of training or degrees, certifications, or anything like that. All you need to be is 2 steps ahead of your client, just 2 steps. And who's your client? That was you 2 steps ago. Find someone who was in the same spot that you were in 2 steps ago and help them take those 2 steps. And then once they do that, you're going to be 2 steps farther and you'll be able to guide them even further down the path. And because of that, you can have a lucrative career. You can live the dream. You can have fulfillment. You can have lifestyle creation possibilities. You can have unlimited income, control of your time, control of your energy. You can be fulfilling your dreams while helping other people fulfill theirs. What life could be more meaningful? Times are so uncertain. The economy is hectic. Is there war looming? Maybe, but if you have enough money and opportunity, your network's big enough, you can shelter yourself, your family, and your loved ones from any storm that's gonna come. Don't you want to do that? Well, all you have to do is live the dream, sign up with me, because I'm your coach who coaches coaches to coach coaches, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it. And you know, there's so many people who are struggling financially, or they have money, but they're working all the time and they never see their family, and their family's growing up without them, or, you know, just never had a fulfilling career, or just wants to have a better life. You know, they're sick of their job. They don't want to work at night. They don't want to have long shifts or have to commute 2 hours to get to where they just want to be with their family, or they just want to do something important for the world. And so when an authority figure, you know, someone who's making millions of dollars, tells them, hey, you can be like me. All you have to do is decide that you are an expert, and all of a sudden you're qualified to transform people's lives, and I'll show you how. Well, that's enticing, especially if you're in this desperate situation. Now, you might have questions the first time or two, but when you see this messaging and then you see some testimonials from those coaches, and they'd say, oh, you know, here's Billy. He was in the same situation you were in, but now he's free. He's living the dream. His family has multiple homes all over the world. You know, they have beachfront property. They're chilling with the celebrities. Their life is great. And they just think, you know, I want this too. And then they'll hit you in the guts with the fear of missing out, and they'll say, now, this isn't for everybody. For people who aren't committed, who aren't ready to go all in and make the change, don't sign up. If you don't mind the idea that your kids are going to be turning tricks under the bridge to pay for school books, hey, don't worry about it. If you don't mind not being there for your wife, and then all of a sudden she runs off with the neighbor because you're never there and he understands her, all right, no problem. If you don't mind your parents getting sick and not being able to afford the right treatment that would get them well, that's fine. Move along. But if you want to live your dream, if you want to have a fulfilling career that changes the world, that gives you opportunity of unlimited income, total freedom of your time, location, sign up now. And you hear it enough, and you want to believe, and you see, oh, these people were just like me. These people were just like me. And the person with authority, the person who has, you know, the name or the credentials or the celebrity endorsements or what have you, they keep telling you you can do it too, and you want to do it too. And there's so many desperate coaches just slapping together something. And there's a section of coaching called high ticket coaching, where basically you have a special type of offer that's very specific. So it would be something along the lines of help you double your income through your online business, or help you to lose 50 pounds in 6 months and feel energetic doing it, or help you to sell your first house, help you to sell 10 houses this year, help you to get married to a great partner in 6 months, you know, this kind of stuff. These would be high ticket offerings. And it all sounds so great. And when you're told you only need to be 2 steps ahead, you're thinking, wonderful. You know, and you can help them go 2 steps. Yeah, sure you can. If you did it, they can do it. And now you're going to know more. You're going to extrapolate. You're going to look back and figure out how you did that, decode that, create a process, and then guide other people to walk the path. So don't make them reinvent the wheel. Have them follow the proven blueprint that works. And all that sounds great, doesn't it? But here's the thing. The idea that you could just decide to be an expert and you're suddenly an expert, well, there's a lot of positive motivation to the idea of, okay, right now you are not at point B, but you can get there eventually if you learn the right things, do the right people, work enough. Yeah, but no, that's not the claim. The claim is you are an expert now. Not you could be an expert in 2, 3, 4 years. You are an expert now. That's the claim. And that's the poison, that's the lie. Because almost none of these people are experts. Almost none of these people are experts. And I've had this objection before when I brought this up, so I'm going to present it to you. I've had people say, hey, it's not all information and things that you practiced, it's your confidence makes you perform better. If you're not confident, you're not going to perform your skills at the level you could. And I agree. I agree if you're more confident that you can get the most out of your skills. You can maximize your experience. However, deciding that you are a heart surgeon does not make you a heart surgeon. If there's someone you love who's going under the knife, do you want it to be someone who's had years and years of study of the function of the heart, the anatomy, who has been in the room working with cadavers, who's been in the room assisting seasoned surgeons, who has hundreds or thousands of hours doing the job? Do you want that person to work on your loved one, or somebody who looked at a couple of anatomy books and bought a scalpel? Because they're 2 steps ahead. You see, this is the kind of thing that makes it a lie. You're not an expert by deciding you're an expert. And no amount of confidence is going to make up for a vast lack of competence. If you're confident without the skill set and the knowledge to back it up, you're full of yourself. You're mistaken and pumped up by lies. Now, I understand that so many people in the industry want to convince you that today you could be a great success. And, maybe your marketing, maybe your marketing can make you successful for a time. But so many people have marketing skills that exceed their actual abilities to coach and help people to move forward. So that's one of the big lies. So many people, because of this lie, get into the industry in a desperate situation because they want to take care of their health and their family and bring security in their lives and secure their investments and learn and have a more fulfilling career and all of that. So many people want that, and they'll do anything they can. They'll take out loans they can't afford. They'll bend over backwards. They'll spend hours they don't have. They won't sleep. They're going to really work hard. And you know what? They might get clients, but are they going to serve these clients? That's the thing. These desperate people, often without any expertise whatsoever, are serving people. Now, here's the perfect storm scenario. There are people desperate as fuck who need help. And they're going to coaches for help because they really need to lose this weight. Or their dream relationship just ended. A parent died. They got a health scare. Their job just ended. And they need expert guidance today. Well, where are they going to go? And it's very possible they might end up in coaching. And here you end up in a dangerous scenario where people who need to close sales to keep the lights on, to keep their children fed, are doing what they've been told by the experts in their field and convincing themselves, oh yes, I can do this, when they're really not equipped for facing these kinds of individuals. When I did offer services, I often, for years and years, would just do one-on-one or group support for free, and people would just send me questions, and sometimes I'd share some content, and that was about it. At a certain point, I was charging for paid coaching packages, but I haven't done that in years, and I'm not planning on going back. But I have had people referred to me, and some of these people were in such dark spots. One was satanically, ritually abused in a cult. Another was traumatized by years of being hospitalized in a mental health institution. Other people were in really bleak spots, and I'm thinking, why the fuck just send them to me? What am I going to do? But, you know, you want to help, and then you have all these other people telling you you can help, you know what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. So you riff it. You do what you can, and, you know, you're not really helping them. They're not, but they're just hoping, they're trying. So you're getting money, and it's a terrible, terrible situation. When I saw I couldn't help the people that were referred to me, now again, those were free services, but when I saw I couldn't help the people that were referred to me, you know, I eventually took distance from them at work. Well, one of them disappeared, actually. I hope that person's all right, but you get the point. It's so easy for people who are desperate and people who are desperate to come together and then take services that they're just hoping work and trying to get other people who are there and hoping it works. And then this is how people get really messed up. And I consider myself to have been on the path since about September-ish 1997, because that's when I first started having access to books and things to research to try and become better. And over the years, I would sometimes interact with different personal or spiritual groups, personal development or spiritual groups. Sometimes I'd be around for a few weeks, sometimes a few months, sometimes a few years. And you would see many different scenarios. And people would come for help because they're in a desperate spot. They need support. And let me share a dynamic that happened in the past. So I was teaching a class at a yoga studio one time, and one of the frequent attendees had been on the path herself for decades, she said. And we were going through a technique where you would feel very, very intense emotion. We were going joy, we were going love, going joy, going love, very intense. Afterward, this attendee said, you know, this was the most powerful thing I've ever experienced. This is far more rich than anything I've ever done. I'm saying, great, well, you know, you could practice this and make it a part of your life, and you could build that up. Now, I've done the same technique at seminars with groups of people. And at a large enough event, there's a certain percentage of the people who are in a dark spot, or they're emotionally very hurt or very lonely or getting through a breakup or whatever, and they're just going to whatever thing that they're hoping is going to help. And I delivered that same technique. You know, we're doing the breathing, I'm guiding the focus, and they're getting there. They're feeling great. But because there's a problem, because I'm up there, and because, they're feeling joy, they're feeling love, they're feeling joy, they're feeling love, great love, great love, great love. They haven't felt this. I'm there. What fires together, wires together. The two stimulus that are mixed at the same time, they get connected at a certain point. And they're looking at me, and they're like, you get me like no one gets me. You understand what I've been through. You understand how difficult it's been. And I felt things today I've never felt. And I love you. And people will say this, and you get into a really dangerous spot. Because if you help somebody, well, then a lot of times, and they might not even vocalize it that readily, but then, okay, they want to pay for a private session, or they want some one-on-one counseling, or they're coming to all your group classes, or, you know, they're asking you questions, or they're sending you emails, and they're just trying to have more of that connection. They're just trying to get that feeling back. They're just trying to fulfill that sense of emptiness or pain or loss that's inside. And when you're like triggering that for them because you were there with such intense feelings, it got mixed. They think of you, they feel good. They care about you. And so they start wanting to take you to dinner. They start wanting to give you a lot of money for donation. They start wanting to sleep with you. And this starts getting very scary because you're in these situations. And hey, let's say you're single. You haven't been available for you haven't been involved with anybody for a long time. And all of a sudden someone that's attractive, that's technically a client or a student or an attendee or something like that. And they're saying, oh yeah, you could do whatever you want. And you're thinking, well, this is a consenting adult asking me for a service. And you know what? It might help. I work hard. I need this too. Maybe this is just life's way of thanking me for helping these people. Maybe that's it. And you could justify yourself real easy and go down this slippery slope. And then you sleep with your client or patient or attendee or whatever you want to call them. And then you do it again. You do it again. Maybe it happens with another person. Where they feel such powerful attraction to you, and then you get another opportunity, and it gets real messy really easily. And I've talked to people who have been leaders of churches, and they've said the same thing. Somewhere in their career, at some point, everybody's tempted, and almost everybody gives the fruit a shot. At some point, there's somebody in a desperate situation who comes to you and offers you whatever you want. Now, let me ask you a serious question. How many times can you turn down exactly what you want? How many times can you turn down attention, fame, money, sex, from a source that you want? Whew, that is hard. But nobody talks about this. We all have to act like we're perfect beings, and oh no, we never have this nonsense. This exists. And this kind of bleeds over into a related section. Now, I have nothing against people who are polyamorous or doing ethical non-monogamy or anything like that. When I was younger, I experimented a little bit with some things. It's not for me, but whatever you do, I don't care. However, in a lot of the relationships that I've seen where they had this kind of dynamic, one partner was really into it, and the other one had low self-esteem. And because the low self-esteem one doesn't want to lose their partner, they'll open a relationship and tolerate the other one getting involved with different people. And though it can hurt, and though it makes them upset, and though they cry and things are terrible for them, they just do not want to lose their partner. And so they let that happen. I'm not saying that happens in every relationship, but so many of the people can't handle having one healthy relationship, let alone let's get 2, 3, 4 other fuckers involved. And hey, that's going to make it better. No, the complexity is crazy. If you can't share your emotions, your latest STD check results, where you're at, what you want, where you want this to go, if you can't share that with one person and hear the honest feedback on the other side, if you can't deal with the disagreements and arguments in a healthy way, you're not going to do better with more people. That needs to be expanded. But situations can get messy so easily. And it's that easy to justify making any little decision. Let's look at another example. Let's look at politics. I'm sure a high percentage of politicians get in because they really care about their country and they really want to help their people. But they get in and, they're junior congressmen and women, or they're, a mayor or a city councilman or something like that. And they find out, I can't propose this bill because it's got no support. And then more senior people come over to them and like, hey, I know you have this pet project. Tell you what, if you support my bill, I'll support yours. And then I could get some more people to bring it to the floor, vote on it, and we'll get this thing through. And you're thinking, yeah, but I don't really like that bill. And they're like, yeah, I understand you have some questions about my bill, but understand, this needs to pass. And if you want your project supported, you got to play ball. And then, they might experiment for a while with not getting anything done and just voting against everything. But eventually, so many of them learn to play. And then you get lobbyists coming and say, hey, look, I need this budget approved. I need this to pass because we're getting a certain amount of money from this project. And, you work hard. Well, how would you like to go 2 weeks, all expenses paid for you and your whole family to this great resort on us? Not a campaign contribute, just on us. And you're thinking, no, but then you're thinking about the arguments with your partner about how you're never there. And it starts getting easier to make that decision. And then they say, and plus, you help me out, I'll help you out. You have something you want to get done, I'll talk to some of the other people and we'll see if we can make it happen. And little by little, we're making these concessions. And all of a sudden, we end up in dark spaces. Very quickly, people who started out with high morals are taking money from lobbyists and, voting for bills they don't really like because they want to get something passed or they want to get on a committee or they want to do something. It's a slippery slope. And we have to be honest with ourselves. We can't pretend that we're all perfected beings and none of us have these doubts. None of us have these insecurities or hopes or wishes or dreams. We all have them. We all have areas where we could be tempted. We all have areas where it's hard to say no to the thing you want. When it's normal to do, when you kind of have to do to succeed in your field. It's a scary thing to be this honest with ourselves. Now, we're going to go even darker on this one. So after World War I, some of the terms of peace were very harsh on Germany. Terribly hurt their economy. There are pictures of people with stacks and stacks and stacks of money taller than a person, and they couldn't buy a loaf of bread with it. It was tough. Things were horrible because they were made to be punished by the world for all of the war and all of the lives that were lost. And guess what happened? There were so many hurt feelings, so much despair, so much hopelessness. People were dying. People were starving. They had no ambition, no prospects for the future. So, one day, a man with a mustache shows up. And he says that he has a vision for the future. A future where their people can rise up, where they can be a dominant power again, where they don't have to live in fear and watch their children starve, where everybody can excel in their fields. And, it just sounds beautiful. And gradually, the economy starts turning around and, their athletes are getting stronger and, they're building a good reputation and their leaders getting on the front page of Time magazine as person of the year. And gradually all of this kind of things going on little by little. And he's saying, hey, it's not even your fault. There are these people we could blame because they're ruining our society. They're corrupting things. They're doing all this dirty work behind the scenes. They're part of why we dealt with all these harsh years. Your child starved to death. They're why. And pretty soon, all that repressed pain and all of those unmet desires were met by someone with promise. And that led to World War II. Little by little, very dark things can happen. Now, there's a book called Ordinary Men, and it details a regular police force. They were too old to be part of the Hitler Youth. They were just regular guys, just ordinary men. They weren't radicalized. They weren't political. They weren't intensely involved in everything that was going on. But little by little, and they weren't even afraid for their lives, because their superiors said, hey, you're going to be asked to do some really dark shit. And you can leave at any time. There's no repercussions, because we understand it's very traumatizing what you're going to go through. We're going to ask you to do horrific things. And you can leave at any time. There's no punishment. So they had no, and it was true. They weren't going to be punished. So little by little, they were asked to do things. Oh, beat somebody up, imprison this one, do that. And it gets to the point where they're dragging out pregnant women and shooting them in the head. Like, it got very, very dark over the course of years. And the people are legitimately being traumatized by what they're doing. They're having nightmares. It's terrible on them. And you ask them, well, why are you staying? And they're saying, well, I can't let my comrades, my friends, do everything. I can't let them be the only ones with their blood stained on their hands. I can't leave them alone. I can't leave and have an open spot and have someone new get involved in this, so I'm going to stay. And little by little, ordinary men end up doing monstrous things, little by little, one step at a time. It's so easy for us to be corrupted. And in today's culture, we like to virtue signal. We like to tell people how good we are, how great we are, how I was the first one to be on board with this noble cause. And you people aren't as virtuous as I am, because you use these slurs, or you use this word, or you question this law, or you approve of this person. I was always the most morally virtuous. And that is a slippery slope to dark, dark places. As you know, if you've been following my episodes of this show, I'm extremely concerned about polarization. And one of the reasons is because when tens of millions of people are constantly talking shit about tens of millions of people, this isn't a little case of bigotry or... This is a civilizational crisis. Now, if that's happening between the U.S. and Ukraine, if that's happening between Israel and Palestine, if that's happening with any number of powers, if that's happening between the left and the right, when we're demonizing people, we're not talking to them, we're not listening to them, we're not seeing each other in good light. We're not looking for a way to negotiate, to arrive at a higher opportunity, to create a vision together. If you have that many people against you, the number of threats is incalculable. The danger is enormous. And so what? For one election, you managed to wrestle power over to your side. But when you have tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people against you, well, guess what? Eventually it's going to swing the other way, and they're going to come back at you with force. And then that's going to come, and more hatred's going to swing by. I was talking with a friend of mine, a person of color, and I was asking him about that terrible N slur. And I was saying, well, I was asking him, from your perspective, a lot of people use this word in the community. So what are some of the meanings that people have? And, he broke it down. A lot of people are trying to reclaim it and make it a term of endearment. Some people were referring to, we're actually kings. That's what it meant over there. But one of the things that stuck out to me that really seemed to make sense in my limited experience was And then there's a certain amount of it where you are claiming that title and saying, yes, I'm every bad thing you think I am. And what do you think about that? Every rebellious thing there. And I noticed something like that in the culture at large, because when someone has a minor infraction, but you give them very, very grievous insults or terms because of that, eventually a certain percentage of that population is going to rise to be the bad thing that you've been calling them. You're going to call that part forth. You're going to summon out the people who really do meet those standards. You're going to call forth the people who really are that way. And you can radicalize people. You could turn people into monsters. There's a study that's been repeated a number of times. Off the top of my head, I don't have names of these things, but you could look it up. But very often, they would take one person, and person's perfectly healthy, no symptoms, their numbers are good, yada, yada. And someone at work says, you're not looking so good. And, they brush it off. A little bit later, someone else says, you're looking kind of pale. Are you doing okay? And, the person ignores it. And then a third person says it. And a fourth person brings it up. Oh, you're not feeling good. Your eyes are red. And after a while, the person starts to question it to such a degree that they actually get sick. And, they might have to leave because, they're throwing up, their stomach issues, flu, aches, pains, through this suggestion. And to a certain degree, I'm not saying 100% because there are definitely exceptions and I can point to them, but there's a certain degree also of when you're telling people that they're bad, that they're terrible, they'll embrace that out of spite. Or it might nudge them in that direction when they weren't there before. Like, well, if you're bullying me and you're hurting me and you're calling me this, and that's the thing that fights you back, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And now I'm your enemy. This is why I think polarization is so dangerous. Because when we're not talking, when we're demonizing each other, when we're dehumanizing one another, we're not able to build bridges. We're not able to hear insights, address the valid concerns that we both have, and then find some way to come together. And because of that, we end up in a very dangerous scenario. I consider division to be a civilization level threat because people have nukes. And even if we took those away, there's biological weapons, there's chemical weapons, there's so many ways that dangerous things could happen, and I hope and pray none of them ever do. But I guarantee that no matter how well-meaning or virtue signaling we are, no matter how much we think we're in the right, if we keep demonizing tens of millions of people or hundreds of millions of people, if we don't listen to them, if we're not addressing their concerns, just like that repressed romantic partner not speaking about going out and partying too many times for them, eventually bitterness is going to come. Eventually resentment's going to come. And it might come by slowly poisoning everything around us, or it might come in explosions. So we have to understand something, and I'm going to leave this off with a quote that I learned from one of my martial arts instructors. He said, "Discourtesy is not a survival tactic." I'm not saying you don't speak out against things that you're concerned with. I'm not saying you don't hold power accountable or try and make the world a better place by presenting your ideas and plans and your vision for the future. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is when you're constantly demonizing people, whether they're leaders that others identify with rightly or wrongly, whether it's the people themselves, you are setting yourself and the coming generations up for a level of failure that is guaranteed. As I said, you might be able to wrestle power for one election. When it comes back, it's going to be even worse. And any powers your side ends up getting, the other side is eventually going to have, it's going to fall into their hands. So this is a dangerous dynamic. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep moving in a direction where we think everybody in the world is bad. There are so many contentious issues and we can never address them while we look at the other side and we see that's some dangerous other. Those are bad people. They're horrible individuals. The only way we can move forward is by looking at them and saying, hey, I might not know them personally, but I know that's my brother. That's my sister. That person's my very self born in another family. How can I take care of them? How can I hear about their hurts? What do I have to do in order to prepare myself to hear what they have to say and address some of their legitimate concerns so that we can eventually come together in a place where we can head in a better direction. All right. Thank you for watching the show, listening. Remember, if you like this, like, share, comment, subscribe, flood the world with this thing. We got to make the world a better place. We have to turn this around. All right. Rock on, party on. This is Shawn signing out.